NeoGenesis, we use adult stem cells and the molecules that they release to develop our skin and hair care products. I wanted to briefly tell you about the different types of stem cells, because there's been a lot of questions about this, controversy about stem cells, and there's really no controversy about the adult stem cells that NeoGenesis uses to develop our products. The big controversy first started with the use of embryonic stem cells. So embryonic stem cells are those stem cells that exist in the embryo at about 4 or 5 days after fertilization. Stem cells start developing in that egg, and at about day 5, it's those stem cells, the embryonic stem cells, that can be taken out and used in the laboratory, or it's those stem cells at that age in the egg that are implanted for in vitro fertilization. That egg, that embryo, that fertilized egg, actually sits on the top of a pin, a PIN. It's very small. And again, this is where the controversy was for a number of years with the embryonic stem cells. There is also a cell type that is not used by NeoGenesis, and that's called an induced pluripotent stem cell. Now, induced pluripotent stem cell is taking, for example, what's often done is you take a type of somatic cell out of the skin, and then you put an artificial genetic message into that adult cell type, that somatic cell. So it's initially not a stem cell. You put in a genetic message, and that genetic message instructs the cell to become more like a stem cell. And so it becomes what we call pluripotent. It becomes more like an embryonic stem cell. It can turn into a lot of different cell types in our body. But that's the induced pluripotent stem cell. We don't use those cells for a number of reasons, including induced pluripotent stem cells. When you reprogram the adult cell with the genetic message to become a stem cell type, you actually induce reprogramming errors at the genetic level and the epigenetic level, so that the cell is not producing the sorts of molecules that it would have if it was a normal stem cell type. So because the molecules are being formed in unnatural ways, we don't use the induced pluripotent stem cell. The stem cells that we do use are called adult stem cells. And these are the stem cells that are found throughout our body. They exist, for example, as mesenchymal stem cells. They exist as what we call progenitor cells, cells like the fibroblasts that have a very limited ability to turn into a different cell type. And they're there as stem cell types, not so much to turn into mature skin cells, but they're there rather to release distinct pools of molecules that induce, that orchestrate the natural maintenance and healing processes. So these are the distinguishing features of the different major stem cell types. It's the adult stem cell types that we use at NeoGenesis that are in our bodies. Actually, the adult stem cells are approved by the Catholic Church, by the Pope. There's actually an adult stem cell conference held on the Vatican campus. So there's really no problem, either morally, ethically, or with religious groups about using adult stem cells. It's the IPCs, the induced pluripotent stem cells, that have programming errors that are in question, and also embryonic stem cells, which exist in the fertilized egg to develop the human being. That's where the controversy is. And the embryonic stem cells are there to develop us, not as adults. They don't exist in adults to maintain and heal us. So again, these are the major distinctions of the stem cell types, and at NeoGenesis we use the very effective, the most effective cell to maintain and heal our skin, and it's a cell that has no moral, ethical controversy surrounding it, and yet safe and effective.